So we've just had a question come in from Holly on Facebook. She says, could Professor Burns offer us some examples of things maybe like air quality that are currently protected by EU regulations that are at risk when we leave?
So air quality is, again, a really nice example. We've seen the UK government, not only the UK government, France and Germany have struggled as well, but the UK has been in the headlines quite a lot for failing to meet ambient air quality standards. And there are certain cities, London in particular, which has consistently failed to meet those standards because a lot of the emissions that need to be regulated come from transport and from diesel, and it's very difficult to bring those down cheaply. And so the government's been taken to court 3 times by Climate Earth, which is a sort of campaigning legal organisation, and been taken all the way to the European Court of Justice. And one of the major fears is that when we leave the European Union, because it's expensive and difficult to deal with air quality, that the government will water down those standards, and there isn't going to be a European Court of Justice that we can take it to for failing to deliver on those standards. So that is one policy area where, again, I think there will be a lot of campaigning. Because we know full well that poor air quality is incredibly damaging for health. Yeah. That's one area of concern. The other area of concern is again around habitats and wildlife, because the Habitats and Birds directives have consistently been identified by members of this government as being unnecessary red tape. So I don't know if you remember, back in 2012 there was a review of the Habitats Directive in this country because of all this sort of conversation about them being bad for business, and there was a conversation about that the UK was gold plating its implementation, so we were going further than required in implementing these laws. So there was a habitats review, the government ran it and found that in fact the laws were working fine and they weren't an obstacle to development and we weren't gold plating them at all, which then irritated people who wanted to get rid of them. So I think there are some members of this government who any opportunity to water down or get rid of those directives will do so.
So just kind of saying that back to you, because it's quite complicated. So there are some areas of policy and targets where unless we do the very best job we can, and some members of the government are very committed to doing that, of translating them over into UK law, there's a risk that things slip through the cracks, or that we lose the nuance or the kind of context of some of the work that we're doing. For other areas of policy, there are opportunities to do better than what's currently happening, and fingers crossed that might happen in some spaces. But there's also a big risk that those areas of EU environmental law that some in this country have felt have been a bit too cumbersome or a bit too burdensome, that this is a real opportunity to, the kind of quite evocative phrase that's used sometimes, to have a bonfire of the red tape. There is a danger that alongside those opportunities, those things that could fall through, those risks, that some people see Brexit as an opportunity to really weaken environmental standards on things like that. And our recourse, if you like, to a body that can hold us to account very much depends on the independent watchdog that the government are setting up being given the kind of strength to hold people to account.
Absolutely. So again, I think a lot of the focus of campaigning in terms of the future development of UK environment policy needs to concentrate on the Principles and Governance Bill and then the Environment Bill to ensure that those promises are kept.
Sign the petition now. It's under this video.